If you've used the internet recently, which statistically you have, you might have noticed something subtle, which is that it feels worse. Not broken, not unusable, just slightly more exhausting than it used to be. Like everything is louder, faster, and somehow more annoying in a very efficient way. And the strange part is, this didn't happen by accident. The internet didn't get worse, it got better, just not at what you thought it was trying to do. And I think that distinction is important because we keep treating the internet like it's a place that used to be good and somehow got corrupted, like it caught a virus, like someone left the milk out. But that's not what happened. What happened is far more boring and therefore far more disturbing. The internet got optimized. Let me take you back, not to some golden age because there wasn't one. I want to take you back to when the internet was just genuinely, chaotically terrible. Early 2000s internet, where every website looked like it was designed by a caffeinated 12-year-old who just discovered word art, where you could accidentally click a banner ad and your computer would catch 17 viruses and also download a toolbar that changed your homepage to something called Bonzi Buddy, and you just had to accept that as part of the experience. It was bad. It was chaotic. Nobody really knew what they were doing. But here's the key thing. Nobody was trying to keep you there. You went to a website, you looked at the thing, you left. The internet was designed to give you information. You typed something in, it gave you something back. Ideally, something useful. Sometimes something confusing. Occasionally something that changed your life. Mostly something you forgot immediately. It was simple. You asked a question, it tried to answer it. But over time, the goal shifted. The internet stopped trying to answer your questions and started trying to keep you there. Because it turns out, answering your question is not nearly as profitable as making sure you never stop asking them. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner put pigeons in a box and gave them a lever. If they pressed the lever, sometimes they got food. Not always, just sometimes, randomly. And the pigeons went insane. Not in a bad way, in a very focused, lever-pressing way, because the randomness was the thing. Guaranteed rewards are boring. Random rewards are addictive. The uncertainty is what keeps you pressing. Now, I want you to think about the last time you opened a social media app and scrolled for no reason. You were the pigeon. The scroll is the lever, the content is the food. And the algorithm has been scientifically calibrated to make sure the reward is just random enough to keep you pulling. This is the engagement loop. You see something, you react to it. The system learns from that reaction. It shows you more things like it. You react again. And over time, your feed becomes less about what exists and more about what you respond to. Which sounds personalized, but is actually just optimized. And optimization has a very specific goal: maximum engagement. Not maximum accuracy, not maximum usefulness, not maximum sanity, just engagement. Now, the key thing is that algorithms are not evil. They are not secretly trying to ruin your life. They are doing something much simpler. They are trying to predict what you are most likely to engage with, and then give you more of it. Which sounds reasonable until you realize what humans tend to engage with. People do not consistently engage with calm, balanced, well-reasoned content. They engage with things that make them feel something immediately. Surprise, anger, curiosity, fear, validation, mild confusion, followed by a very strong opinion. And out of all of these, one emotion performs significantly better than the others: outrage. Outrage is extremely efficient. It is fast, it is simple, and it requires very little context. You do not need to understand something to be angry about it. You just need to feel like you do. Outrage travels faster than anything else. Not happiness, not curiosity, not even fear. Outrage. A post that makes you angry gets shared more, commented on more, and keeps you on the platform longer than a post that makes you feel good. Because happiness is quiet. Happiness does not require a response. Happiness does not make you open 7 tabs and start typing in all capitals. Outrage is interactive. Outrage is participatory. So when algorithms optimize for engagement, they naturally start favoring content that produces outrage. Not because they are programmed to prefer outrage specifically, but because outrage produces results. Clicks, comments, shares, arguments, replies to arguments about arguments, which signals to the system that this content is important, so it shows more of it. And because more people react, the system becomes even more confident that this is exactly what people want. Which creates a loop. Not a subtle loop, a very efficient, self-reinforcing, slightly unhinged loop. And the whole time, the platform is fine. The platform is great, actually, because more conflict means more engagement, means more time on platform, means more ads, means more money. The platform has perfectly aligned incentives for a world that is slightly on fire. Everyone else is just living in it, which, yes, is ironic, given that we're literally describing a thing that has gone terribly wrong. But also consider that you're still watching, so maybe it's working on both of us. Okay, so we have the engagement loop, we have the outrage economy. Now let's talk about what happens when every single creator on the internet learns about these systems and starts optimizing for them. What you get is convergence. Think about thumbnails. At some point, someone discovered that a thumbnail with a person's face showing an exaggerated expression performed better, so more people did that. Then data showed that bright colors worked, then arrows, then a specific shade of red, then the open mouth, then the wide eyes. And now every thumbnail on the internet looks like someone just received terrible news in the most photogenic way possible. Nobody decided this collectively. Nobody sent a memo. Each creator individually looked at their analytics, saw what worked, and did more of it. And because everyone is looking at the same analytics with the same tools, optimizing for the same platform, everyone arrived at the same conclusions. Because once creators understand how the system works, they start adapting to it. If outrage performs better, content becomes more outrageous. If simplicity performs better, complexity disappears. If certainty performs better, doubt disappears. And if emotion performs better than accuracy, emotion becomes the focus. Not because creators are trying to mislead people, but because they are trying to survive in a system that rewards specific behaviors. Headlines become more extreme, opinions become more confident, nuance becomes optional. If you have two pieces of content, one that says, this situation is complicated, and one that says, this is the worst thing that has ever happened, one of those is going to perform better, and it is not the first one. So calm content still exists, balanced content still exists, it is just less visible because it is less engaging. And this is not a moral decision, it is a mathematical one. The algorithm is not asking whether something is good, it is asking whether something works. And this is what optimization does. It finds the local maximum and parks everyone there. And the local maximum for internet content is not interesting, it is not meaningful, it is not even good. It is gets clicked, which is close, but different. Now add scale to this. The internet is not a small place anymore. It is billions of people, all interacting with systems that are constantly learning and adjusting. Which means small effects become large very quickly. If something works slightly better, it spreads. If it spreads, it becomes standard. And once it becomes standard, it defines the environment. In order to compete for attention in an environment optimized for outrage, you have to match the energy of the environment. You have to be louder, more extreme, more emotionally triggering than whatever came before you. Because if you're calm and nuanced and measured, the algorithm looks at your content and says, interesting, but let me show them a man screaming about traffic instead. So creators escalate, not because they want to, but because the alternative is irrelevance. This creates a spiral. The content gets louder to compete, the louder content raises the baseline, the new baseline requires even louder content to stand out. And somewhere down this spiral, we end up watching a 12-minute video about something that did not need to be a 12-minute video. The feedback loop is also much tighter than it used to be. Television, newspapers, radio, all of them adapted to what kept people watching or reading. This is not entirely new. But the internet can measure engagement instantly. It can adjust in real time. It can personalize for each individual user, which makes the loop much tighter, and tighter loops produce stronger effects. So the internet did not suddenly become worse. It became more efficient at doing what it was designed to do. And in the process, it amplified exactly the types of content that are best at capturing attention, which happen to be the types of content that make everything feel slightly more intense than it needs to be. Here is the part that I think matters most. Even if you understand all of this, it doesn't really help because the system is not reacting to your conscious decisions. It's reacting to your behavior. And your behavior is not always rational. You might know that a piece of content is exaggerated. You might know it's designed to provoke a reaction. And you might still react to it because that's how humans work. The system continues to learn from you even when you disagree with it. When the internet feels worse, it doesn't feel like a systemic failure. It feels personal. It feels like the specific people in your specific feed are specifically failing you. Like the world is getting dumber or angrier and you're watching it happen in real time. But the people creating the content are responding to incentives, and the people consuming it are responding to algorithms. And the algorithms are optimizing for engagement, and the engagement is being monetized, and the money is funding more optimization. Nobody is steering the ship. The ship is steering itself toward whatever makes the most money, which turns out to be roughly the direction of slightly worse. The internet is not separate from people. It is made of people. The content, the reactions, the patterns, all of it comes from human behavior. The algorithms just amplify it. Which means the reason the internet feels worse is not because entirely of the technology. It's because of how the technology interacts with human psychology. It takes existing tendencies and makes them more visible, more frequent, and more consistent.
which changes the overall experience.
This matters because if you think the problem is the people, you will keep trying to find better people. You will switch platforms, you will curate your feed, you will follow accounts that promise to be different, and some of them will be, for a while, and then they will also get optimized. So where does that leave us? The internet feels worse because it was optimized for engagement, not quality. The engagement loop turned scrolling into lever pulling. The outrage economy made anger the most profitable emotion. Content optimization made everything converge toward the same loud, clickable, emotionally triggering format. And the attention arms race escalated all of it until we ended up here. Here being a place where the most viewed content is often the least nourishing, where the loudest voices get amplified the most, and where being online feels increasingly like standing in a crowd of people all yelling slightly different things while someone, somewhere, is getting very rich. The answer is not to completely avoid it, or to assume everything is meaningless. It is just to understand what you are looking at. Because once you recognize the pattern, the outrage bait, the optimized thumbnail, the confidence that skip nuance to get there faster, it becomes slightly easier to pause before you react. Not completely, but enough to make the experience feel a little less like being inside a machine that is constantly trying to figure out how to keep you there. Which it is, and it is very good at it. So the next time the internet feels overwhelming or repetitive or strangely exhausting, it is not because something is broken. It is because something is working exactly as intended, just not in your interest. We are, all of us, the pigeon. We're just slightly more aware of the lever now, which is either progress or just a more sophisticated way of pressing it. If you made it this far, congratulations. You just watched the video about attention on the internet, which means the algorithm is currently very pleased with both of us and will now show you more things like this, which is either helpful or concerning depending on how you look at it. If this kind of thing is useful to you, the kind of explanation that starts with prices or algorithms and ends somewhere slightly philosophical and also structurally concerning, then subscribe. That's it. That's the ask. No merch, no Patreon, no exclusive content behind the paywall. Just subscribe, and the next time something feels slightly broken for reasons you can't quite explain, we'll try to figure out why together. The real reason, every week. Subscribe below. See you in the next one.